Hey everybody, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your Sun and Rising Sign horoscopes for July of 2019. So this is the Sun and Rising Sign horoscope for Geminis. As you can tell right now, I'm not in my office. I'm on the road visiting my mom right now in Michigan. My wife and daughters are coming out too. We're here for the 4th. Might look a little different than what you're used to seeing me in. But let's take a look. So the big news of the month are 2 eclipses. The first one for you is happening on July 2nd, and it's happening in your 2nd house, which is the house of income and expenditures. In ancient astrology, the 2nd house is basically related to your fields and what grew in them, what you were in possession of, what assets or resources that you had, and to a certain extent, your substance, meaning what you had within you on a certain level. So a new moon in the 2nd house plants a seed and in that garden. And this is a new moon solar eclipse, which means it's much more significant. So with that in mind, we have the ideas of a new revenue stream, potentially new bills or new that are going to give it as new business ideas, new business skill you're coming in possession of. And it's going to appear not just on the day of the eclipse, but over the weeks and months to come after the eclipse. That's how eclipses generally play out. So that's the first major transit of the month. And it's a big one for reasons that I'll get into as we go along here. The way that it's participating with all the planets in the 8th house, namely Saturn and Pluto, and the lunar eclipse that'll come later in the month. So we've got some things to add on here. But let's go ahead to the 8th and 9th. Between the 8th and the 9th, we've got Mercury and Mars coming into a conjunction with one another just as Mercury turns retrograde. This is happening in your 3rd house in the sign of Leo in a square with Uranus in Taurus. Now, because 3rd and 12th houses combined are not, they both places, for example, were called metakosmios, which means between worlds. And so the Mercury retrograde for Geminis this month, especially considering that Mercury is sort of your patron planet, could be a little choppier and could take you into your inner life a little bit more. It could be about facing mental and emotional demons. What are the things that you tend to, where are the areas in your life where you tend to do yourself in? That's the 12th house. And there could be a little bit of an impulsive and even kind of egocentric energy this month that's maybe a little bit more temperamental, fiery, combative. Be careful of that. Mercury, Mars in a fire sign in Leo can get kind of puffed up and proud. Square to Uranus in the 12th, also potentially somewhat destructive and erratic or unpredictable. You may also be faced with opportunities to stand up for something, fight for something, advocate for something. So your mental and verbal energy this month may be on display in both negative and potentially very positive ways. This could also be about, breakdown with a car, breakdown with technology, and needing to replace something. You also want to be very careful about how you express yourself. Your ego can get you into trouble this month. In general, misunderstandings, miscommunications. You may not be a bad person at all, but just be careful of the temptation to be overly dramatic and theatrical and rebellious or defiant or just eccentric in any way, trying to push the envelope, push the edge. It could definitely kind of fire back and get you into trouble this month because of the 12th house emphasis with Uranus. Okay, so that's the Mercury retrograde. Now moving forward from there, between the 10th and the 15th, the Sun is going to move through oppositions to Saturn and Pluto from the 2nd house in Cancer to the 8th house, Capricorn. From the 17th to the 21st, Venus will get in on the same thing. And in between there, on July 16th, there's going to be a lunar eclipse in the 8th house in Capricorn. So a huge lineup of planetary events between your 2nd and 8th house axis. The 8th house is traditionally related to things like death, fear, anxiety, the future, but the theme of transformation encounters Saturn, Pluto. That could definitely be a part of what's happening this month. The 8th house also has to do with things like inheritance, the money or wealth of a spouse, what a spouse is in possession of, income and expenditures basically related to a partner or a spouse. So the issues about your values in relationships, who's supporting what, are you both paying or pulling your own weight in a relationship, and material things can come up, and also gain, 8th house, that comes sometimes through misfortune like death and inheritance, but sometimes in other ways too. You get a job because someone loses a job, but those themes, those 8th house themes, are also figuring strongly into the equation now with all of these oppositions taking place. You may also find that the forces of necessity, constraint, responsibility, duty, adulting, it's this kind of Capricorn energy is pulling you in one direction and really trying to, sort of sink your battleship, right? So sink you down with fear or just more heavier qualities. Whereas, the Sun and Venus in Cancer might be feeling a lot sweeter, gentler, and trying to connect with others in your family, or trying to connect with people from the heart, trying to grow things in your life that are basically creating a deeper feeling of security and at-homeness in your body and in the world. But then there's these Capricornian Saturn Pluto themes, and the eclipse in the 8th pushing down and saying it's not a safe place here. What are you thinking? It's you need to be responsible. You need to be mature. You don't have time to lay back and think about these cozy, sweet themes. So it can be quite a back and forth this month, trying to create some feeling of security, but also dealing with these sort of inevitable difficulties that are making you feel like you can't relax, or you can't settle into a more vulnerable space in your body, in your heart, etc. So there may be some challenges around those themes this month. The lunar eclipse on the 16th probably is an indication of endings or more faded events that you really have to work through on a heavier level, maybe in the 8th house. So beyond that, we're going all the way to the very end of the month for the last major transit of the month, because those, by the way, all of that I just mentioned really takes us through the 10th all the way through the 21st, with Sun and Venus opposed Saturn and Pluto, and the lunar eclipse on the 16th. On the 31st, we have a new moon, and that new moon is taking place in early Leo in a conjunction with Venus, and again square to Uranus in the 12th house. Now, again, the potential for squares with Uranus in the 12th to indicate sudden, erratic, disruptive events that are maybe a little bit more self-destructive, especially around the mind, communication, speech, your ego, and how you're dealing with things. Just be careful. It'd be very easy to put your foot in your mouth, to make a reaction, to have a strong reaction. Someone offends you, or someone says something that you don't like, and you just cut off the relationship way too quickly. Be careful of the trigger finger around having your ego offended. The other thing that I would mention would be the need to express yourself in bold, provocative, or eccentric ways, maybe creatively trying on something new. And at a certain level, you probably just have to stop caring about what other people think. Leo energy, sometimes a little too prone to, thinking about what other people need or want from you, when really it's important that you, maybe right now with this Venus-Uranus dynamic, it's important that you kind of, not disregard what other people think, but don't be shy to express yourself in the way that you feel like you need to, or don't be scared to do something or take up an opportunity that comes along. So those are a few things that I have in mind for all of you Geminis this month. I hope you have a great month, and let me know how things go. Leave me some comments on the feed, and I'll be looking at both of the eclipses in depth, so stay tuned for more on those. All right, take care. That's what I've got.